Okay, we are live. We are live.
Hello.
Hi, welcome to DevKami number 117. I'm Swimming.
I
Jin
am
Leong.
Tristan.
I'm Sean.
Yeah, so as Sean, it a regular because not because we like him. We like him. He had time. He willing to come. And today's episode, he is in a very unique position. So spoiler, we're going to talk about software licenses, not just open source, but also we're going to cover a bit general thing about intellectual properties, why you need a license, even your software are not released in public, etc., etc. So something to think about. But what you guys up to today?
I am
In the
upgrading
portal.
That's look
my.
really weird, Tristan.
Yes, I
Yes.
know. My virtual
I
bookshelf
can
is
see the bulb.
getting.
I can see. Yeah.
He's in
Your.
Narnia.
My virtual bookshelf has been revealed. Okay.
Yes. No, you're in a closet before you go to Narnia, right?
Yeah.
Is it? Is it?
That's he broke his fabric of reality.
Mhm. No, but so I was upgrading my NAS system with, so it used to be a 3770, a 4-core 8 thread. Now it's running a Xeon. It's my first Xeon. It's power hungry. So now most of the things are, I'm just like making sure it doesn't guzzle up a lot of electricity and all of these things. So it's quite difficult to cool as well.
Yeah.
It's 12 cores though, 12 cores, 24 threads. So
Do you
it's
really need
large.
that?
The die is large. Yeah, because it's not just it's a NAS, but also like this is my work machine. So I'm
Okay.
using the MacBook Air as a thin client, and all my work stuff is actually on
What?
the
Using an
VM.
Apple as a clean kind?
Yeah, I
Such
know.
a
Right?
waste, man. Such a waste.
You're a rich person.
No, there's nothing much you can do with the M1 except like you want
Nothing.
to actually get something done, right? If you want to get something done, then you go with something that actually works, which is
Yeah.
like a Linux system. Like all of the things compile, everything works. And then on the weekend, you try things out. You try to compile the ARM versions, etc. And then if it doesn't work out, you have a fallback. And this NAS is the fallback. It runs VMs. It has my Plex media servers. I just ran PhotoSync. I just discovered PhotoSync. So instead of I think I remember like the last few episodes we were talking about Google Photos not having like canceling their free thing, their free plan, right? So
Yeah.
PhotoSync automatically connects to your SMB share, your Samba shares, and copies everything on your camera folder over with perfect quality. So yeah, I'm trying lots of experiments on this one.
Cool. So I just scraped the National Food Component Database. It's a database of how much of sugar, have what nutrients and all that. More on that in the future. In the future, whenever our blog is updated, Qi Liang had cut his hair.
Wait, why do you have to mention? I shaved my hair. I didn't cut it.
Oh, interesting.
I bought a
Interesting.
shaver and I actually gave up trying to go to the barber shop because my favorite barber shop unfortunately was closed permanently.
Yeah.
What?
So I
So
gave up trying to discover new ones. So I just bought a shaver and just shave it.
that's
But
actually
my advice for people who want for the first timer is that please use scissors to cut your hair first.
yes.
It was like my whole bathroom 2 nights ago was like a mess because of that. Yeah, try to cut them with
So
scissors first.
yes. Then
So this is
Sean.
like the opposite of my scenario. Like I also gave up trying to find a barber, so I just
Mm.
gave up completely on cutting my hair.
Yep.
That's
And finally,
I guess
Sean,
for you, just cut it.
anything you want to talk about that we can talk about?
Well, my company just launched a new tool or new service. Yeah, for issuing digital certificates, right?
Nice.
So
Using the blockchain. No, I'm kidding.
So this week was basically spent like making fine tuning that one and then doing some like marketing lah. Yeah.
And yeah, also this is day 2 of the movement control in our area. Since most of you are in KL and all in the red zone, take care, don't go out if you can, etc. etc. So let's start with our thing. La 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 la, what's our thing? Okay, here you are. Oh no, you see all my secrets. So we have a few events coming up. So the next, Sharul Zaman is one of the open source. He's one of the open source guy. He's an old time. So he's talking about in Malay. So it's about interview and just some coffee chats. So you can go to DevKami website and and look at the events. Then on Saturday, one of our friends of IO Foundation, we have some event online as well. So it'll be about human rights and technology. So again, go to our website devkami.com /meetups. Then go to the events. All the links are in there. In fact, apparently, according to this, we have nothing until next. Let me see.
Until the next month. What?
Yeah. So let's see how it goes.
It's called Chinese New Year.
Yeah, we have Chinese New Year, but Chinese New Year is in the middle of February.
Yeah, nothing happens until after Chinese New Year.
You know, in supply chain, 2 weeks, at least 2 weeks before and after Chinese New Year, things
Yeah.
stop.
Yes.
Oh, wait, so
normally
that
if
means
you- so sometimes when
deliveries
we-
from AliExpress aren't going to be a problem.
Yes.
not sure about that, but for companies, is that we try to finish our delivery, our order at before December finish.
Yeah.
So because they'll stop, they actually will put up a notice also.
Right. So the next one is JetBrains software is looked as a potential result of SolarWinds hack. It's under investigation, but this is one of the tools that being investigated, but JetBrains denies the allegation. So anything to add? If not, I'm going to move on. And moving on. This is interesting, not because we like Parler, we do not know what the hell is that, but this is a platform that being used by by one of the groups in the US, the conservatives in the US, and was accused of being involved with the mess in the US. So it's a bit of a mess down there. What interesting for us internationally is it shows the power of the platform have to actually kick you out. And this is not the first time. When child pornography are officially banned, and the Nazi and the law in Germany that says that Nazi paraphernalia should not be online. Same thing happened, different platform. It's in the 90s, so it's the Yahoos and all that. So this is the same situation, and this shows how big impact technology have in your everyday life, and also what? Yeah, something to think about.
Yeah.
So.
Something that Nicholas mentioned is which is interesting is this.
Yeah.
So Parler is just I'm not sure about the stance of the people behind that, but something that because of a Facebook policy, like recently there's a lot of people, especially people from Hong Kong, they jump to VV, right?
Yeah.
The VV is also used by the conservative in US. So
Yes.
that's the what can it the angle if you look at it, it's not just
Correct.
one. I mean, free speech is not
Yeah.
Free speech is not free.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's not that free.
And it's not. It doesn't cost the thing that most people think.
No, free speech is not freedom from consequences. I think that's
Correct.
the best way to go about it.
Yes.
There's no policing the mind is illegal. Like basically, you're not allowed. Like at least in democratic countries, with free speech, you're not allowed to force someone to think a certain way, but you're also like you're also not free from consequences. If whatever you do with your free speech happens to hurt someone, then
Yeah.
that's not
Precisely.
you're not free from those consequences.
Yeah, the point is that it shouldn't hurt. I mean, it shouldn't affected somebody else
Yeah.
directly.
So-
you don't use it to hurt people or to disturb people.
Correct. So the next one on the list is Ubiquiti had a breach and tell customer to change password.
Yeah.
The data was accessed from what
They don't know what's the depth of that yet. So it just as a precaution. I mean, from the press release, at least.
Correct. The next one is SolarWinds attack had new malware. So again, this is a story that keep on giving. So this
no-
is
Nobody is really secure.
correct. So we already covered part of the SolarWinds thing. Let's move on. So CentOS Linux replacement. So after Red Hat saying what they're going to make CentOS, even they're going to move to CentOS Stream, which is very different from the current model of CentOS.
which is killing CentOS.
Correct. So Cloud Linux is a distribution, business Linux distribution, and they try to actually goes into the market because even though some people do use CentOS because it's free and all that, some people are not going on Red Hat because of the cost and all that. So there are genuine CentOS users that actually do want to pay for services, and some do actually pay. So this
Put it this way, Red Hat has successfully made their name in
Yeah.
the enterprise world. So it's it's something they ask for a lot of and like including some of our clients. They
Correct.
either ask for RHEL or CentOS.
Correct. So now that there's another alternative, so this company will come in to actually support all these users. So yes.
The
we
funny
actually
thing is,
develop-
we have still ongoing project, new project that are going to use CentOS. Apparently, some of them didn't get the notice.
Well, knowing the industry in Malaysia, sometimes they change it. But by the time the requirement the requirement analysis and all that were done like months before this, and by the time it comes here, it will be hard to change the requirement again, even though it's relatively easy because it's already in document.
No, it's not in yet. It's just but it's part of the thing in the IFP.
Yeah.
But
So
it's coming up with that is all like took them a while, I guess.
And the last one is Beagle. Beagle is actually before the Raspberry Pi, actually just roughly around the same time, there's an alternative. There's a single board computer alternative called the Beagle. It's actually Beagle.
BeagleBone.
Computer,
It's called
BeagleBone is actually very is famous among robotics at that time because it's actually more powerful than the Raspberry Pi. That version at that time. So it's actually favored by the robotics community, but it's also a lot more expensive than the Raspberry Pi. So the hacker community will catch it on. But it's interesting because everything is open source and all that. So now the Beagle and with sci-fi stuff. Was it sci-fi? I forget the name. Let me go down. They are actually the Star 5. So these guys are actually one of the maker of this 5 microprocessor. So all these folks together make a new Linux single board computer based on VIS5. It have very interesting capability. Most of it looks the same in a way that it's a VIS5, it runs Linux. It had GPIO, again, which allows you to do things. So in a way, it's not too different. Here you are. It's not too different than your Raspberry Pi. It have the pinout will be different, but the capability.
I'll say, unfortunately, it's still much more expensive than Raspberry Pi.
Correct, but unlike the Raspberry Pi, they have the NVIDIA LNG. This is actually NVIDIA is actually a specification to run hardware acceleration for machine learning tasks. So mostly for inference. So unlike the Raspberry Pi, the CPU actually have hardware acceleration for neural networks, machine learning, and computer vision, which actually make it more optimized when you want to do computer vision tasks. It's something that Raspberry Pi don't actually have. So this is what they have for them. So the C5 CPU is RISC-V, yes, but it's all the extra thing here that will hopefully make it an advantage for them.
I think the
And
longevity of this thing is similar to what happened to BeagleBone last time, is the support.
Correct.
So they
Correct.
need to keep on the support.
Correct.
If the like it's hard to deploy to use it, then it's not gonna fly as well.
Correct.
So
So,
it's not just
but they
hardware.
do. So for bigger bone is expensive, but this is also interesting for me because I discovered that RISC-V have been is a pretty interesting hardware. It's an instruction set. It's not even chip design, or that is only instruction, but that alone is a big deal for people to actually design microprocessors, and it's began to pick up among the technical community. So and also interesting because RISC-V, the ISAs are being adopted, and people that try to build chips on top of it also add a lot of capabilities that accelerate AI. So it make it easy to run the inference and all that. So it's interesting for me mainly because it's a new toy. I just love the toys. So what do you guys think? Okay, if there is nothing
Can
else,
can it run JavaScript?
Ugh.
That's
But I guess the issue here is this is a different form factor from before, right? Like
Correct,
it's not
correct.
the Pi form factor, it's not the Arduino form factor. Because I just did a road test review of another one. Well, it's a NRF 52840
Yeah,
from Panasonic, and one of the biggest issues there is that they have their own format, and so if it's going to be a development thing,
yeah,
it's quite like there's already a big ecosystem of sensors, of like pre-made libraries and pre-made um, interfaces, and it can be like it's quite difficult to jumpstart another ecosystem to play around. Like it depends on their target audience. They're targeting like hobbyists and makers. Some of them don't even know how to solder properly, and
yes,
like you'll have to depend on connectors like quick connectors or like the groove connectors. This is like a completely different format. You do have the 40-pin header. It doesn't say if it's compatible with a Pi header.
yeah,
It could be. I don't know if it will conform with a hat specifications. So I guess
correct,
that's just the biggest issue here. Like the
correct,
ecosystem, it's going to be a problem.
yes. But if you're only targeting things, guys that do AI, I think it's enough. As long as make it easy for them to plug in the motors.
put it this way, I'm not trying to downplay them actually, but I try to. Obviously I'm trying to, but most AI guys we meet outside, they don't even know how to set up their own operating system.
Yeah, that too, actually, that too. I
In
mean,
the end, it'll come down to whether they provided libraries as well for the AI. Yeah, if the
precisely,
the hardware accelerator is there, but then you need the libraries to interface to that.
precisely. So let's move on. I think I'm done with Buzz Corner. Yep, the next one is actually called New Tab. So today is very interesting because it's something that I planned last week. We have this commercial semi-open source, semi-open source, semi-open source, but also had a very strong commercial license. I forget the name, so I won't be linking here. So we lead to a discussion of software license, right? Why you have them and all that. But let's start with very basic. What do you guys think about software license?
It's a good thing.
So the thing is, I think the community have been downplaying. Is software license is one of those things that we don't usually talk about. partly because the type of software that we make for freelance is that we throw to the owner and that's it.
Oh, I talk about it every day because
No,
the
no, it's a,
IP is very important. Like the between like whether the customer understands that they have the ownership of this is our platform.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it's there, right? So because the thing is, that's why the power of the license is there, right? So some freelancer would think that either you throw the software to the owner and that's it, or they think that I built the software, I own it, right? So a license is where the rules comes in. It's where you, I give you a software. You can't for commercial license it's mostly like this. You have the software, but for maintenance you must go through me, for example, right? So that's the commercial
Put it this
license.
way, in short, it's all mostly around money.
Yeah. It's about money. That's
It's
why
not about money. It's about ownership and rights
Yeah.
of the owner.
Yeah, that will
Which boils down
in
to
the
this.
long run.
It's about the
and also
it's about protection of
liability
the
as
weak.
well.
Those who cannot defend themselves, they go legal.
well,
Otherwise, yeah, the strong will just take whatever is from the weak.
correct. So what kind of
Also in part,
software?
in part is liability as well. So also
Correct.
money, also money.
It goes back to money, right? Because when you have a software, so when you here's another example of software license, right? You must buy original copy of your Windows 10. Okay. Uh, Enough people don't think about that anymore because when you buy Mac people don't have this problem anymore. The gamer guys they already have a PC that usually comes with Windows anyway.
Now you don't manage your serial key anymore. You just
Yeah,
buy directly
correct,
from the platform.
correct. It's more like the PC shop will give you the CD for you the hard between the
I think the subscription model this day is the new license management.
correct.
Yeah, because
That's
you have
another,
a guaranteed revenue stream. You can
correct,
budget and plan with that very well.
correct.
I like that as a person who offer the service, but as a consumer, I don't like it.
Yeah, correct. I want to pay one time and then forget it lah.
Yes. But that's the thing, right? When you build software, you always have extra thing, right? That's given the software. Right? So the thing I want to ask you guys is what kind of commercial license? Let's talk about commercial license we can go open source. What kind of commercial license have you actually seen before? Or actually used and all that?
Commercial all rights reserved. All rights
Yeah.
reserved. You
You
know,
just call that Microsoft EULA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the thing is, a lot of us is because we are mostly either very bottom of the chain, we just build software, the business figure it out, or in
the
the
interesting
agreements.
ones are some of the SaaS software like no, like how the EULA for the Google Maps data.
Yeah,
Even like they like specifically prohibit using it on other platform. Like if you get the date, like let's say you get the address geocoded on Google Maps API, you cannot use it on let's say OpenStreetMap.
correct.
Yeah.
That's actually a new one. It's just that
Or
they're too
you
small
cannot
to
do
be tested.
But of course, we know that outside in the world, people gladly abuse the gray area.
But that would be a breach of license.
Yeah.
Yes,
Actually,
it is.
if it did happen, if Google caught you, they really gonna just
Enforce lah.
unban you. Yeah. And the problem with that is that they'll ban your whole account. Like if you relate your Gmail, they're gonna just blacklist your account for Gmail as well.
Oh,
So you
that
can wipe off.
explains.
Yeah. So don't do really anything stupid. They are very scary in a way.
Because they are powerful.
Yeah.
It's like if you ban Trump and then okay, powerful.
And the thing that they create is the one of the thing that they confuse people is that they offer you free service, but the enterprise license is really different and expensive.
So which is why for a while, notice that a lot of the websites that offer a map, to point where their place is. That doesn't work anymore because the subscription agreement require them to actually submit a credit card information, and nobody actually.
Not just that. For the actually there's still free quota, but if you're gonna use the free one, you cannot have they only offer you free if your website is accessible publicly. So if
Yeah.
you require a login before accessing the site, right? Yeah, that requires a paid version.
So that's one thing you're going to think about license. Another one that commonly we've seen is that's a software license that we've seen on IDE.
Microsoft license Windows.
Yeah, the Windows license.
You see, but you don't read.
Huh?
You
Yeah.
see, but you don't read.
Correct. And there's actually a very cool history about that as well, but let me go through that first. That's your IDE license as well. So IDE is like my PyCharm. So the thing is, I cannot do anything pirating it. If I stop paying it, here's the catch. I can still use the IDE, I just cannot get update.
I think why even do you need to pirate PyCharm? There's a free version.
Because you actually use, I think the remote connector is not in the community. Then the database connector is not, part of the community. So you cannot actually inspect the database.
Put it this way, is to people that are planning to be in a way in our life, we pirate a bit of stuff like Sean say that.
Correct.
But if you do need to use up and you cannot afford it, sometimes you can send an email to them and they can give you an extension of that.
Correct.
So some of these companies are really good. Okay lah.
Correct.
Correct.
The important part of the license is to protect them, like give them the power to decide who uses the software for what. So it's up to them. If they want to exempt you, or they want you, they want to ask you to kowtow to them first, then you kowtow to them first, or whatever.
That's right. That's why your AWS is like that. Just use their thing lah. They give you so many. They are generous, quote unquote, right? They're so generous. Just use it first lah. So, and that's what it is lah. That's about software license as a user lah. But do you actually have to craft a license when you have to do something in a freelance job, for example? Do you guys actually do that?
It depends at the end of the day about ownership actually. Who owns the product that is built? Because there can only be one owner. So if the client is the owner, then you don't really have any say in the license because the client owns it, he decides. But if you are the client never pay you a lot of money, pay you peanuts only, then if you keep the IP, then as a developer, you are the owner. Then in order for your client to be able to use your software, you will have to then license it to them somehow. So that's where the license.
Yeah, and that's why in freelancing, contracts are very important.
We normally don't, unlike open source, we don't draft specifically a license, but it's part of the contract.
Yeah, because by default, at least I think in Malaysia, by default, your whoever is the creator owns the created thing, unless your contract specifies that fruits of your labor are owned by this legal entity or whatever.
But that language can be pretty creative, so you still have to be careful.
Yeah, but the general rule is if you are an external contractor, then technically, what you said will be correct. You created the software, so you own the ownership. But if you are an employee of your boss, then sorry you create the software, your boss owns it.
Yeah, you're an agent of this thing because you're an employee, and by usually it's specified in your employment contract, but it's also the understanding, the implicit. What do you call that in the thing? The implicit thing is that whatever you do is owned by your owner.
Whatever you do as a student also belongs to the school.
Actually,
it happened to one of my friends also. You either choose your
University of Malaya have that, which is actually problematic. I didn't get caught during my university time, but in the university, one of the things that actually say that everything you do with it, actually, it's actually very wide in a way that
I
anything that
have a
you
friend that
do,
was given the choice to either graduate or choose their research lah, take it away, but you cannot graduate lah.
correct. But
I've worked with universities quite a bit, collaborations, and this is always a sticking point lah. Because by default, the IP policy is they own everything. And then from the industry, obviously, you'll be like, wow, then I can't do anything with it after that, right? So, so at the end, the couple of projects that I've successfully completed with universities, at the end of the project, because they also have their KPIs to meet, so they need to show that they have produced IP. But at the end of the project, they automatically sign a deed of transfer, so it automatically transfers the ownership to us. Then we can use it lah. So in that sense, it's a win-win lah. Because if not, they also have to show KPI. They got no KPI, so then they die lah, right?
But
So
for
in the
students,
end,
it's
it's
a bit
just
more
agreement lah.
complicated. Yeah, correct. But for student, because it's actually part of your, it's part of the agreement you have to sign before you enroll to the university. So they are actually very wide. Everything that you use between school facility, internet, and all that, IP belongs to them.
You know that's why big tech they people want to do open source tech in big tech, because even if they leave, right, they can still carry the legacy.
Correct. That's a carry, right?
Yeah, so the copyright says University of Berkeley, but okay, so the copyright is there.
Yeah.
But you can
But that would also depend on your employer. If you're working in a company, usually the employment contract is everything you produce, regardless of whether it's weekend time, evening time, it's still owned by them. So you need to get a waiver from your employer.
Yeah, correct. You need to be very careful about your
Try
IP
to be
policy of the
explicit on the
company.
rule. The thing is, if you're not sure, talk about it.
Correct. But
Yeah,
in
that's the thing.
so in university,
You get your employment contracts amended.
correct. So in university, what happened is when you do your final year project, that is a work for the university. That's another thing. But to your job, most of it is pretty reasonable in a way that IP belongs to the company if it's a project that I work related to the company, meaning at night.
That's depending on your contract with your.
Yeah,
correct.
it can be anything, everything. Even when you're sleeping, they own it.
So what happened is, one of the things that I make sure when I sign the agreement is the project must be directly related to the product I work on. So I cannot make competing product. So this agreeable because I do work for them. And if it's around that if it doesn't revolve around products that the company make and product that I'm directly involved, then generally doesn't belong to the company. So far, I make sure that the agreements are signed this way. And it's pretty important because often we software developers have side projects. If you'll not be fair, if the company really owns everything, I mean, if you're going to learn about AI and suddenly a company owns it, but a company not even doing AI, what's the point, right? Somebody think about it.
The trouble will come in when people have side income.
Correct.
When you moonlight, then the work that you produce moonlighting can be a problem. That's your client ownership or your boss ownership, Yeah.
Be specific about it. If you're not sure, just negotiate.
Just talk about that. Make sure you talk to your.
It's not something implicit.
Talk to your employers about your IP rights before the employers talk to you.
Yeah, that is why that's why I need to free volunteer work, not pay gig.
And if your
But I
employer
think
says
that
no,
apply even if it's free.
Yeah. Some place does go a bit far.
and if your employer says no, you can't do like what Swimming did. Just leave your job and then do your scraping software or whatever.
Yeah.
And then find a better job that will actually let you do things that you love.
Yeah. So just make sure you do it on your own free time. Make sure you got the flexibility to do that and all that. So we already covered your traditional software license, your agreements, the IP agreements. And do we need to explain what is IP, or we can avoid that for now?
I assume most of the viewers should know who is IP lah, right?
Yeah.
I assume lah.
So we won't be covering patents. We won't be covering.
No, patent is that another thing.
Yeah, we won't be covering patents.
I guess it's another form of IP. IP is a huge thing.
But if you're dealing in Malaysia, then softwares are not patentable lah. So then it won't apply to software.
Yeah. The reason why IP is such a large thing and there's a lot of legalese there is because it's not a tangible thing. It's the ownership of ideas, and because it's not tangible, there's no like you can't like you don't have possession. For example, you have to define possession.
Yeah. So in our case, so far nobody want to steal our logo, our DevKami logo, so we are safe.
Oh,
but let's say we want to.
Put this way, like this is something that I tried to explain to Wendy. Also, Wendy came up with it.
Yeah.
She has the final say to that because she actually, in a way, contributed to us.
Yeah, correct.
So, but she has she still owns the right because we didn't ask her to sign a waiver.
Correct. Mm-hmm. So it's her thing, so something to think about as well. So this applies if you've got a design online. But copyright, I'm a bit sucky in this reason because I do. Is copyright something we apply or something that we get automatically?
The copyright writing we talk about is be clear so we have no legal trouble afterwards.
No. So it's something like this. If I write a novel and publish it at random place with my name on it, do I automatically get automatically get a copyright on it, or it's something that I have to ask?
Okay. The position under Malaysian law at the moment is it's been changed since 2012. But generally the position is by default you are the owner.
Yeah.
All right. So if you created something let's say a book or something, you are by default the owner. However, there is this voluntary registration now for copyrights. In the past, you didn't even have to bother to go and register. But now there is this allowing you to register. So you just go to my IPO and register your book as your copyright. The purpose of this registration is just to simplify things if you ever go to fight. If you ever go to court and fight, at least there's a black and white clear case registration. There's a evidence there that you can present.
It's still civil lawsuit, so it's how much money you have and time to
no. I would like to keep in point. No, among all the IP laws in Malaysia, the copyright can land you in jail.
Oh, okay.
If you breach copyright, you can land in jail. You can steal patents, you can steal trademarks, you can steal everything else, but don't steal copyright, because if you steal copyright, you can land in jail. I think up to 20 years. Or 500,000 ringgit fine. So it's quite a serious one for copyright.
Oh, okay. That would let us in jail because we got agreement.
Is that criminal liability aside from the civil liability for like returning lost profits, for example, and those things? Or it's just
it's separate thing.
Wow, okay, that's more. Okay.
Yeah.
So you only not lose the civil portion, you also go to jail.
Which is something I find a bit heavy because I looked up like what kind of crimes get you 20 years in jail besides copyright, right? You know.
But
if you steal a car maximum 7 years. Steal a movie DVD, right? 20 years.
It's the movie industry.
So if you run a torrent seeder, stop it now.
Torrent seeder 20 years, okay? Sell drugs or do something else.
But that's only if you violate the copyright in of a Malaysian,
it's only when the copyright holder make a claim, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Because I see if you go out, we see plenty of them being violated.
No, because let's
now,
say in Malaysia,
Malaysia enforcement and law are two separate things. So there's law and then there's enforcement. Itu lain cerita, okay?
But let's say, for example,
if somebody make a claim,
if there's a Disney Malaysia, let's say the Disney counterpart in Malaysia sues someone, let's say Chiliong, because you were pirating, I don't know, Frozen 2. and like they just wanted to make an example, then they can like that's basically the thing, because now it's a legal entity in Malaysia suing, which is like a copyright by them, because it's probably
Yeah.
like I don't know, as an agent of
The
the
system is
international
in
business.
place for me to get
Yeah.
prosecuted.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The law is there already, so you can kena lah.
Yeah.
And this is actually partly because of the entertainment industry, actually. And the entertainment industry are a bit crazy at the time. And it's not just the RIAA in the US and the MPAA in the US. It's here as well. It's something that brought down here for some reason. So
The thing that gets a bit sidetracked is that I know that sometimes music copyright is just copyrighting the chords, right? So
yeah,
it's a bit
Well,
silly.
the thing about copyright and creation is that if you put it down in a medium like paper or like something like, I don't know if Malaysia has updated the laws, but at least in the Philippines, I know if it's on the website, for example, it has to be like put down in a medium, like recorded on film or written down, then uh, it's copyrightable, and it's a very small like what effort to get something copyrighted.
I think any creation by default is any creation.
The legal term is expression of an idea.
yeah.
So
So in this case, software counts.
yeah, correct. So your software, you have an idea, you created something, right? That is the expression already, right? You can
But for
copyright.
example,
Sorry?
if swimming says, "Oh, I've been thinking about like how to categorize fruits for the longest time, and then I told someone about it, but because it was not written down, it was not recorded, there was no thing
Then
there,
it's too
then
bad.
that person does it. You can't say you stole my idea. We talked about this like some time ago. It can't
There will
be copyrighted.
be a civil argument.
Yeah, correct. So this is why some of the startup guys, they will say like, I told you the idea, and you start a company out of it. Then you get a mess up. So
If you have a very good idea, get it patented, right? So that's how you protect yourself.
Yeah,
Correct.
not that expensive in the long run.
yes,
And
except
patents are really expensive lah. Patent.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
and
mean, in the long run, if it's really like gonna like change the paradigm kind of.
yeah.
Well,
You need to
and
move out and all that.
most of the time people patent things, well, at least for like an aggressive patent, just so that other companies and other people cannot do the same thing, even if you're not making, like if you're not planning to make money out of this business or this process, you just want to prevent other people from making money from it, and then you patent
It's just
it.
a roadblock, yeah.
Yeah.
But still, how many patents for smart glasses is there on the market? Right?
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Well, question: how many patents are there for e-ink?
But you see a patent
like-
itself, right? Is also need to be public.
Yeah,
It does,
So
and that's the thing. That's the sad part. There, it's a monopoly, right? E-ink, the patents are owned by a single company. I forgot which one, but that's the reason why there's like very few e-ink devices, is because there's only one patent holder. You only license it from that company, and that's the only way you can actually do e-ink.
And
I
actually,
think
the
it
worst
goes
part,
with a lot of things in the world, right?
correct.
Yeah, patents are different. Patents are a government-granted monopoly, so it is a monopoly. It is meant to be a monopoly. So that's just the way it is.
And it's also per country, right? So they have to, if they really apply for all around the world, they really spend the money and effort to.
Well, yeah, it's per country, although there are like intellectual property agreements between countries to the respect.
Agreement just mean that they recognize it. So if you have a first patent filed in Malaysia, then when you go around the world to all the other countries, they will recognize your Malaysian patent filed here, and then it will simplify the process over there. That's it, right? But it's still per country.
Yeah, you still have to apply, but usually you only apply if someone starts stealing. Let's say in Vietnam, someone does your patent, then you can always apply after it was being stolen, and then okay, now I have the patent because it's being recognized in Malaysia, like things like that.
Correct. But software you cannot do that, which makes it.
So one thing that relates to that is one of the reason why we have open source, free and open source software license is also to prevent people from stealing the work and patent them. It's also in a way copyright them to protect them from being from the rogue entities to try to claim the copyrights.
So,
Yes.
so that's why people were concerned that. So the thing is, ownership and being commercially viable is two different things. Right?
But copyright and
Open source
IP, in the case like in Apache license, Apache respects your IP as well. So the IP and the copyright are two different things. You try to serve the purpose.
So are you saying that the Malaysian clone of the LibreOffice is actually violating the law?
If that person releases the source code for their OpenOffice, I think OpenOffice is under GPL, right?
No, it's
No,
What's
after
the
the Eclipse license.
Oh, Eclipse license. Eclipse license, I think it's a bit more relaxed.
Really?
yeah,
So-
okay.
Let's say OpenOffice license. Let me check. Apache.
Oh, Apache is very relaxed one. Do what? Apache just name, they just want like name only, that's it.
Okay, because
Credit.
because I know that in Malaysia we actually have companies here that actually just slap a logo on.
Oh no, I read it wrong. There's two license, dual licensing of PDL and LGPL.
Oh, okay.
Well, LGPL is like it's a library. It's only when you modify the library, so
Yeah.
it has exceptions on linking. Like you're allowed to link an LGPL library
Yeah,
without
correct.
infecting the rest of the code base.
Correct.
That might be for the subsystems of LibreOffice. Because they've got stuff that you can call as libraries, right? But
Yeah.
the actual one,
Yeah.
it could be.
LibreOffice is various things.
Yeah, it depends on what license lah.
Correct.
Well,
for
for
example, they have-
me, it's sangka baik lah, right? We just
Yeah.
assume that they are following the license lah. All right.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
the thing about license is that
no,
it does
I'm
not
actually,
give you
I'm actually
the.
wrong again. The legacy system were PDL and LGPL. The new one is Apache.
Yeah.
Okay.
See,
Yeah. And
intellectual property
you
is
see, it's
hard.
still up to the copyright owner to
Yeah. So the
apply
thing is,
license.
when you receive the piece of software, you're not the copyright owner. You're just licensed the software, right? You do not. I don't think you are able to sub-license into another
That's
person.
why you have to forward the license as well.
Yeah. The original
Okay, so-
ownership is still the
Mm.
creator or
Yeah.
set of creators, whoever the copyright is assigned
Apache is
to.
very detailed on respecting that Apache license.
Okay, so I'm going to go to a hypothetical scenario that is reasonably realistic. So what happened is, so previous scenario is easy. I make the software, I own it. Unless in the agreement the owner say, whatever you build it for me, and for something that I own. So that's scenario one. Here's another scenario now. Often when we build a new product and we try to give it to, and we try to license it, quote unquote, we're going to make a product and give it and pass it to a customer, right? We use open source modules. That is common, right?
So let's say like you're a WordPress contractor or your WordPress shop,
Okay.
and your
Yeah.
employer is contracting you to build a WordPress to this client WordPress site.
Yeah.
And WordPress
So
is
So build like WordPress plugin or something.
Yeah,
WordPress
correct.
plugin.
So how should will I be liable in this case? Or
No, you have to
more
reach.
importantly-
You have to talk. No, the thing is, it's part of the negotiation.
okay, now
It's not
let's
implicit.
say
You have to explain to your client that WordPress is GPL. They cannot keep the source code. That's all.
okay. So in this
But
case,
GPL also allow you to do dual licensing.
yeah,
Not in this case because you are deriving from another one, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
But the
But so
modules
again-
is
the copyright owner is the person who actually can license it to you. So if they decide to dual license it with something else, that's their prerogative as the owner. Like, I own this thing, I decide what to license it to.
Okay,
or
so-
I think it's more like
to.
if you modify WordPress, you have to release it. But if you write a plugin, but you still has to be GPL, but you are the copyright holder, and you can do license it yourself.
So
Yeah.
in this
But
case,
if-
But you cannot remove the GPL license. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
has to, and you need to be GPL because the base
Yeah.
system is a GPL.
Yeah.
No, because how that works is because it's your relationship with the owner, the original owner. You are only able to use this software because he gave you a license to use the software. If you
Yeah,
did
I
not,
think-
if you break the rules of that, then you do not have the right to use
The
the
license
software.
is actually just like Tristan say, is a right that the copyright holder grants you.
so in this case, let's say we already made an agreement.
It's not a right,
and the
it's a
customer
privilege.
is Okay.
Yeah, privilege.
Our
Privilege.
customer is okay
Yeah,
that
sorry.
they don't own the website. Okay, they don't own the plugin. They're okay that I write the plugin, I maintain it, and I can. The agreement says that I can withdraw whatever lah. Standard thing lah. I still technically owns it. But the thing is, it's still a WordPress plugin, and we use various open source modules. So what is a liability as me, as the creator of said plugin with all these open source modules? I am the owner, not the customer now. So again, you already covered a few of those, right? If it's GPL and use GPL module, we have to release the source code. That's easy.
So,
we have-
just a minor detail there. You do not have to release the source code. You only do it if someone asks you for a copy of the source code.
Oh yeah, that's actually another story
That's
because
like a small thing.
Linksys
And,
don't have a public repository. They say here,
The amendment of V3 is actually even if you host it as a service, you
Yeah.
are still being liable to that
Yeah,
application
but like,
because
for
V2
example,
doesn't.
Like the plugin example, right? If I release it there and then nobody realizes that it's actually like used a GPL plugin, nobody asks for it, you're not required to, okay, here's the source code of the plugin in this link and the website. You don't have to promote it. It's only when someone asks, hey, this is a GPL thing,
But
but I
normally
want to
they
see the
put it
source
up
code.
there because they don't want to do the work of managing the emails.
yeah.
And another point to note is you don't have to give it away for free either. You can charge a small fee.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, not
But you
necessarily.
have to give it.
But you have to give it. Yes, you have to give it.
You have to.
In a format that they can actually compile. So it's a very specific there that it's usable. You cannot put like, and
You can actually print it out on paper and send it to them. It's
Yeah,
legally
but-
allowed.
if someone types it in, right, it's
Yeah.
compilable. You cannot put like pseudocode, for example, or something like that.
Or you cannot sabotage them by putting some fake code in there. Yeah.
It has to be like usable.
The
Like,
actual one.
even though it's in like not inconvenient to, like, it's in diskettes, 5.25-inch floppy drives, for example, it's still possible as long as when you put it in, you read it, and you can compile it because you have the tools to provide it. So yeah, sorry, those are like small things because there are lots of loopholes because of these things.
Yeah, because this just talking about GPL, something is very chincai. So for example, BSD is very chincai. She calls BSD.
You just want
you
credit.
don't- Yeah, you just say that I built it, and that's about it. Sometimes we don't even know if we actually tell everyone that we built it at all. So who the hell remember who actually wrote BSD nowadays? Think about it.
Oh yeah, but the problem there is that's the reason why Amazon can take MongoDB and then just
Correct.
run it as a service. Is because you don't have any other liability. You don't have any other things to do other than publish whoever wrote this, like credit them somewhere, like in your website.
But
I wonder if anyone in Malaysia has ever requested Telecom Malaysia to release the source code for their routers.
we should try that. That would be
We
so
could-
interesting.
We could try that.
Kernel,
Can be an
right?
episode of the response we get.
It's on GPL3 or GPL2 at least.
Leave
Yeah,
a
you can-
comment if you want us to do that.
You can contact. I think the Free Software Foundation will give like free legal like budget?
Uh,
You want to
there
fight
is-
No,
for?
it's no. We have to request first before we go to the
Yeah,
legal path.
you have to exhaust all of your
You have to reach.
legal
You
options,
have to
and then you do that.
And we are not really allowed to take any action against TM because we don't have standing. We don't own the IP. Someone who owns the IP is the one who actually can take action against them.
Yes.
Yeah, you
But
can try. Like,
despite-
it's just like freedom of information. Like, we can send them an email to ask for it. Whether
Yeah.
Yeah, but I understand what Sean is saying. Like, there's no legal standing. You don't have legal standing to take them to court.
So
Basically,
that,
you can take,
yeah,
you can try to,
Yeah.
but then
No, but
say
before
you
we
don't-
take like before we ask for like before we ping the FSF, we need to do it ourselves first to have them the I mean the actually the action that they explicitly denied our I mean
Yeah.
our request lah. Yeah.
or at least pressure them.
Before
Like,
we go
I
to
think
the-
that's what's happening with Xiaomi, because they've been late in releasing the kernel source codes, right? So
Yeah.
people have been pressuring them, hey, please release the source code so that we can actually create like new ROMs on this, and then they've been like reluctantly releasing the source codes.
So the group that will help you for that is actually the Software Freedom Conservancy, but they're focused on the US, but sometimes they do help. Another one is actually the SFLI, Software Conservancy India. So that also exists. I know some of them through the NGO days, so they do know this issue. So yeah, it's one of those things you have to do, but so it depends on license, right? So something we need to double check because, and the good news is, DevKami, we already in today's blog, in today's post, I leave a lot of links, various links on what you can do for open source license and all that. So double check that, see what you can do and what you cannot do. So you have the license here and what you can do. So
I want to show
if you
this
want
as
to
well.
know- Yeah,
I'm
So-
gonna share screen.
yeah. I'm going off.
This is for the Golang one. They have their license, but they also have to. They actually own the patents as well. So they are now. This actually is the notice that they grant us the use of that without
Correct.
until they decide to take it away also.
Yes. Yes.
It says that irrevocable.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh.
So it says, for at least for that version, right? They can just remove
For
this
that version.
for future versions, and then now those future
Yeah.
versions are not covered by
And
this.
that actually happened. That actually happens.
That actually happened to like Mongo and stuff like they relicense it.
Correct.
And also,
or
the reason why is QT.
yeah, Qt had that.
QT
Linux
is,
kernel
I
had
think they
that at one
revoke it.
time. Linux kernel had that at one time as well. Some tainted module.
So we have a few people on the chat. Would you like to go read them as well?
Yeah. We already covered a few of those. Which one? We had a lot of spam lah, you guys.
What? So like, we already talked about Parler, right? Like the freedom of speech. Then we have Sweet Meng, Sweet Meng, the Wolverine.
Yeah.
We have a CTO. We have the employment contract.
Yeah.
I want to read this news. QT for their LTS, right, is only commercial only.
So Hussein says, I'm a contractor for TM. He can ask.
Yeah, but it's not something you can ask internally. A lot of this you need to ask through informal channel. This is actually one of the things that Malaysians need to understand because we're so used to the idea that certain things can be asked behind the scene, under the table. You need to change the approach. Sometimes things need to be asked upfront in public. This includes information, data, and all that. It sounds good they can make a deal, quote unquote, but for a real system, for the society to work, you need to be able to ask this upfront without consequences. So we have a lot of things so we have a lot of things to cover about open source licenses as well.
Open source
not
only?
yeah, we
We
didn't even
because
cover.
because we get used to calling everything like open source like blanket term, right? Everything is open source.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
even the
but-
policy of GitHub is if you don't put a license file or a valid license file,
Yeah.
it is considered proprietary.
Yeah, which is
So
which is
that's
like the
default.
default in many
Yeah, that's
many
default.
jurisdictions.
Yeah, because your software are not by default public domain, by the way.
Yeah.
And public domain is another thing. Public domain is
Private domain is a
anything-
declaration as well.
yeah, correct. Public domain is like anything goes, but which is why
No, anything goes, but you have to declare it.
yes, you have to
Just like
declare it.
SQL, like
And more importantly, there's a reason why Disney and all that keep recycling their movie, because if they don't do anything, they will
they're
keep
recycling their copyrights
Them-
and
correct. They're actually
and
extending their
trademarks. So like
trademarks.
the black eye Mickey Mouse, you can actually use it freely,
Yeah,
supposedly, because they are
Correct.
labs.
The Steamboat Mickey one.
Yeah.
Is that the
Yeah.
one?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the old one.
So and if they don't make the movie will go to public domain, they will lose the right. So something to think about as well. So what's the message today? Actually, I hope you guys think about your license more seriously.
Mhm.
That's because you never get sued, doesn't mean you can't.
Copyright and IP,
Yes,
be careful of that. Know how to
Correct.
protect yourself. I mean,
yes.
Yeah. Don't forget 20 years jail. 20 years jail, 500K fine.
Yes.
Yes. Nicholas, that's good advice. Law Tech Malaysia, there's a meetup. Maybe you want to, if you have questions, you can ask them.
no, Tech Up is for the IO Foundation.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Tech Up.
This
Well,
weekend, yeah.
IO Foundation is also dealing with data privacy, so I guess they also have something with
Yeah.
like,
As a
they're
human rights.
talking about licensing your own information. Basically, they're aiming for ownership of your own data. So basically, you have to own your own data. Whatever you produce on Facebook, for example, you need to be owning it, because right now Facebook owns your data. It's like, and that kind of doesn't make sense, right?
Oh,
so
because
that's
you
what
grant
they're.
them.
Because you granted it
well,
to them.
yeah, exactly. The license agreement is like that. Which again, yeah, I mean, you agree to it because you don't read the license agreement, but you agree to it. But the thing is, that's the thing, right? Is that even legal? Like, are you able to agree with something?
Short answer is yes, but
Yes.
short answer is yes, but somebody want to change that. There's
Yeah.
The moment you agree to it, you are deemed to have read it and understood it. So
That's the thing, right?
yeah.
Although, like, because there are many cases where, well, not cases in terms of software agreements, but cases where you don't have
Even usage
conscious
of a service or a
intention.
space is that you implicitly agreed to it.
yes.
If I
So which is why
because
which
I
is
remember the
why
example that I got in business law class was that if you go to a parking, if you decide to park there, you implicitly agreed to it.
Yeah.
and
That's why they put the terms and conditions at the entry point.
correct.
Mhm.
So this is the reason why Facebook can remove porn or your sexy photo online. So yeah. And we already passed our time. We have so much to talk about. We will be covering this so soon. I hope we can be more focused next time. That's how it goes. So
We didn't talk about the hardware licenses.
yes, hardware licenses. That's another whole thing altogether. But that's next time. So
Next time you
what
should
about-
give us your list, your agenda. Then we can stay on the topics.
Very quickly.
Wait, no, that's
Okay.
part of our mantra, right? It's unplanned. Unless we change
So,
it's
yeah.
written.
So with that said, so let's goodbye then. Let's say goodbye because I know you guys are tired for your MCO. So goodbye. Do not go